Hi, in this video, I'm going to go over the big picture for this class. The topics that we'll discuss in this class, I've divided those into four different classes or categories. The first one is about the basics of psychology. The second one would be the mental processes. And third one would be about emotions. And the fourth one is about the personality and meaning in life. Now, I'm going to talk about a little bit about these individual categories in a second. The basics refer to the topics covered in chapters 1 and 2. In chapter 1, we'll define what psychology is. We'll talk about the history of psychology as a scientific field. And specifically, we'll talk about the history and what exactly psychologists do and the research method that psychologists adopt. In chapter 2, we'll talk about the brain and behavior, talk about neurons, nervous system, brain, and that's one category. The second category of things that we'll talk about in this class would be about mental processes. Now, before I specifically show you what the topics are under this umbrella, I just want to give you some information about what mental processes are. Now, psychology, as you'll see in the chapter 1 lecture, is defined as the study of human behavior. And when we say human behavior, we specifically refer not only to the external behavior that you see, but also the behavior that you can't see, the internal behavior. And these internal behaviors are called mental activities, are often referred to as mental processes or cognitive processes. So there are some basic cognitive processes or mental processes that we'll discuss in this class. And these are sensation, perception, attention, and memory. And there is this learning, which again can be considered as a mental process as well. Again, it connects information from several of the basic mental processes. As you can see, these refer to specific chapters again. Sensation, perception, is discussed in chapter 3. Attention is discussed in chapter 4, although it has a name, consciousness, which pretty much the same thing. Then memory is will be discussed in chapter 5, and learning in chapter 6. Then that brings us to our third category. I call it emotions. Now, this specifically refer to some topics from chapter 8. We'll talk about emotions in general. Then we'll specifically talk about my favorite emotion, the happiness and love. Then the last part of this, although it's a separate chapter, chapter 10, module 1, 10.1, stress, there's another important emotion that especially you students experience during your finals and maybe throughout your undergraduate career here in college. Then we'll move on to the last category of things I will talk about, which is from chapter 12. It's personality and meaning in life. And we'll specifically talk about module 12.4. Well, this is the big picture. I hope you had fun. I'll see you in the next video.